Welcome to the channel. I'm in Chelsea, but where? Not London. I'm in New York City, and I'm in the fantastic art gallery of Lincoln Glen, and I'm joined by Doug Gold. I'm here, we're going to talk about investing, buying, selling art trends, and we're in the art gallery district in Chelsea in New York City. Doug, welcome to the channel.
Oh, thank you, Paul. Happy to be here.
It's great to have the opportunity. I know we've got a big launch party, and I know that the content we are going to create is going to educate so many different people about this fabulous art. So tell me more about the art.
So this is our second gallery and our first space in Chelsea, which is the Arts District for New York City. Some view it as the capital of the art world, with over 300 galleries in one zip code alone.
300 galleries in one zip code. Wow, that's phenomenal.
If you walked our street or any of the surrounding streets, you wouldn't be able to find a store other than a gallery.
I have to say, when I was arriving in the taxi, I didn't see anything other than galleries. It was gallery, gallery, gallery. How many blocks do you think there are of art galleries here?
I think there's probably over 10 blocks, and then each block has storefronts and then buildings on top of it, and the buildings are littered with galleries, with some buildings even having 40, if not more galleries.
That's fantastic. So, where would you start if we were looking to invest in art? If you were, interested in art and looking to buy art, where would you start? What would you recommend to viewers?
The first thing I tell everyone is to look at what they like. Because if you want to buy something, even from an investment stance, you want to enjoy it and make it a little more special than just a stock. We all have our portfolios and we all have other asset allocation, but art's one of the great ones because you get to actually look at it, smile, say, this is something special, remind yourself why you bought it. And then from there I go on and start to read about that artist, or that market, or size of material. If it's a painting that you like, or you like three-dimensional art, go where you like and kind of follow your heart a little bit where it will match your design and not just be a pure asset, but something that will bring you a little bit of joy. And then I'd sit back and start to read about the artist that you have now decided you're a fan of. And if you like abstract paintings, which is what we have around us, and you can't afford Jackson Pollock or William de Kooning, look at the artists of their circle that have started to get traction or more museum notice that don't quite have the same price point.
And I'm sure if we have viewers that want to seek your advice, I'm sure they can contact you and say, hi Doug, I have this bit of money, I'd like to buy some abstract art. You'd be able to help and guide them?
Absolutely. I advise a handful of clients where they call me before every acquisition process and we go through the pros and cons of the market, where it's been, if that piece meets their standard of their collection or their portfolio in some ways. And from there we go, often if they need help with the acquisition or someone that can speak to the gallery on their behalf, I'll take that role as an advisor. Or if they want to just go off and do it on their own, that's more than standard.
Fantastic. And I'm reading lots about NFTs and non-fungible tokens and tokens where people are buying art and they're attaching their art to the digital world. Is that something you've seen in New York City so far?
It's something that I've seen, and from a market stance it boomed and then it's kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
It was at one time the only thing everyone could talk about, and I think there was a lot of variables, just sort of something new. But if you look at the Museum of Modern Art's investing in digital art pretty aggressively, some of it will stay.
Sure. And what do you think is the future of technology and art? I mean, obviously, blockchain is a ledger, so people can keep a store of the data. Do you think everything in the art world in decades to come will be on a digital ledger, or do you just think that it'll be a mixture?
I think it will be a mixture. I think some will go onto a digital ledger to keep the provenance or chain of ownership consistent. But I also think the art world's a pretty hidden place and sometimes doesn't want everyone to know every detail.
No, that's a fair comment actually. I think a lot of people in the high net worth, ultra high net worth space value their privacy. But I would imagine provenance is quite a key thing. You know, how do you go about proving provenance for art?
Very often, you can change the ownership based on who owned it last, where they acquired it, and that's done through invoice records, receipts, gallery labels. Dealers and experts can tell things by stamps and handwriting even on the back of the structure.
And how long does that process take? So if I came to you to say, I want to buy this piece of art, let's prove the provenance, let's go through that journey. So we would collect all these evidence and docs as fast as we can. And are there industry experts that focus on certain pieces and certain painters? I know in London, I'm not a great art person, but you know, people would go to Sotheby's or Christie's. Yes, we can lend, and there's art financiers, so people like those houses have departments that say, yes, that's good for us, we can lend on it. And normally, if they can lend on something, it's normally because they can auction it because there's demand. So what do you see here in New York?
So sometimes you can check provenance as quickly as 2 minutes. And
wow,
some art really doesn't need it, the quality speaks for itself, and then from there you can back check to see if there's anything that would increase its value. If it was an important exhibition or in a catalog, you know, but sometimes provenance gets lost because something was bought 50 years ago, 100 years ago and passed down. It doesn't always have a perfect chain of history. A few months back, my colleague and I found a painting, and it had very interesting provenance, but then vanished in 1965.
Wow.
And we were able to prove by going down to the archives of American art and going through catalog essays that this painting was exhibited and in this family's collection then. And although it was lost since 1965, it had remained in one place and no one had found it.
That's incredible. So having your art exhibited will help prove provenance and create a record or a trace if you wanted that to be the case.
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons that we like to make catalogs for each of our exhibitions, so our clients have something physical to go with it and they can really look at it and appreciate it and know it was part of an exhibition and not just a one-off piece.
So, what else do I need to know if I'm buying art? What are the probably top 3 tips to consider or top 3 guides?
Top 3 tips is don't be afraid to ask questions. Art dealers and gallerists in general love their material and art and are always happy to discuss it. If you walk into a gallery and someone behind the counter is glaring at you, brush it off your shoulders. They don't mean anything by it, and they're just sort of in their own planet, and view it as that you're walking into their house, but they're happy to greet you, but they're just sort of digesting the moment. And then the third thing is, if you decide you want to start buying art, visit a museum or 2 first. It will help you decide what you've been interested in.
Amazing. Perfect. And so, are you saying that some gallery owners aren't that friendly when you open the door, from your experience?
I would say most gallery owners are not friendly by nature.
Okay.
I'm in the industry. I buy and sell 300 to 500 paintings a year.
Wow.
And I can say there's moments I walk into galleries and I'm intimidated.
You never know, different industries, different things, different people, different cultures. I suppose they're kind of protecting the art, aren't they? Because normally pieces are extremely valuable, and if a stranger walks in, it's like, who are you? What do you want? And I suppose depending on how you dress probably makes that first impression all that more important.
I think it's a lot about sort of protecting the gallery, protecting themselves, protecting their time, because once an art dealer starts discussing something, it's discussing something they're passionate about. And as anyone knows, when you start discussing, if you want theater, you start discussing theater, that conversation can go on way longer than anticipated. So they're trying to gauge if someone actually likes the piece, if there's interest, or rather if they're just spending the day. But regardless, they tend to always be happy to help once the ice is broken and you just say hello.
So Doug, I'm reading a lot right now about African American and also female artists and how that market has exploded recently. What's your views on what you're seeing?
Well, the market really has taken a sense of the political nature of the world, and it's now re-looking at history. And it's seeing artists that probably should have had the same note as their colleagues and their peers, but had been overlooked for one reason or another. For example, Joe Mitchell just had her auction record this week, and when you view that, she had always been considered a great painter. She always was a great painter, always will be, but many other artists were viewed more important than her because she was a woman, or because she was in a relationship with an important painter. And now people are taking a step back and saying, were we right? No, we weren't. Museums are looking at their collections and saying we have 13,000 pieces in our collection, but only 3% by female.
Wow, 13.
Yeah.
That's such a small part if you're collecting art. So Doug, tell me what other female artists are emerging in the last 6 to 12 months?
So right now the abstract expressionism movement has really taken off in that specific genre. It's a very recent period in time, so the art is still available and around, and the collection, the desirability for abstract paintings has really grown over the years, as well as mid-century taste. One of the artists I can think immediately is a painter named Alice Baber. For a long time she was considered a little bit of an expat from the US market, because she lived in Paris and Japan and never really settled in anywhere. She also died really young in 1980 at around 50 years old. And for example, in 2017, I bought a painting by her, 40 by 60 inches, and I sold it for $12,000. Today that painting would be $300,000 to $400,000.
Wow.
A year ago that painting would have been $100,000. 2 years ago, it was still worth the $15,000.
That's amazing. So you've seen a real increase in demand, and as a result of the increase in demand, that's been reflected in pricing and valuations.
I've been fortunate enough to still have two by her, but I think she's a great painter and had always been overlooked and viewed for the wrong reasons. People said she lived in the shadows of her husband, yet she really did. They exhibited at the same places, they sold for the same prices. But at some point he became more successful and she was sort of touted as a follower of him and not a peer.
That's incredible. Fascinating how markets and also trends then get influenced by the backdrop of life. Incredible.
Yeah. It's really the nature of the art world. It's a personal viewing of the world. It's always sort of been a moment in time, from the Medicis to 18th century in France and oil portraits in England. Has always sort of been the photograph of what the current times are.
That's incredible. So I'm starting to get a bit hungry. I need to eat some food. I'm in Chelsea. Chelsea in London is going to be completely different to Chelsea in New York. So where do you think we should go that's your favourite local restaurant?
I would say right around the corner there's Battino, which is a little Italian place with great homemade pasta. And then about 5 or 6 blocks south there's Chelsea Market, which is a food hall with 25 different options, all of excellent quality.
Well, we're going to have to go and have a look, aren't we? It's going to be rude not to go and try the local establishments. Doug, thank you so much for your time this morning, and look forward to showcasing this fabulous art shortly.
Thank you, Paul.
So Doug, what are we looking at here? What's this piece? Is it for sale? How much? What's the story?
We are looking at a large painting by Hedge. He was a stain painter, utilizing the method of laying 2 canvases on top of each other and manipulating the paint with a squeegee as it soaked through one canvas. He was trying to replicate a feather or a element of nature, a feather or a shell that's nearly identical to the one next to it, but never could be the same. Each thing is manipulated in a pattern, and it moves through as he squeegees and stops and changes his tension to create the same effect as what you'd look at if you were looking down and you saw a feather, a shell, a rock.
And what about the rest of the work? Is that how he painted?
That is how he painted. It was how he started out painting in acrylic, and it's how he painted the rest of his life. He was really interested in new mediums. He started out as a collage artist because he liked the exploration of what he felt. And then in 1960, he was introduced to acrylic paint, which at that time was only used for commercial use and not for fine art, and saw that it was more soluble and that more manipulative.
Wow.
He actually began working in this collage medium, in which he found a material which was used for adhering asphalt during the urban sprawl of New York. And he found that once that material was used and weathered, it could be pulled and spread apart like you were spreading a piece of cardboard. And then he could sculpt that and manipulate it, and it would look like tree bark or a rocky terrain. So materials and nature were always his inspiration and maintained that way. But by 1970, he had already found success in academia, in New York City, in other jobs, and he decided promoting himself was not the best use of his time or interest. Although he was exhibiting in museums, and some of these works had been exhibited at the MoMA and Whitney early on, he decided he wanted to spend his time creating and teaching and living rather than trying to sell.
Beautiful.
After he passed away in 2017, we got the opportunity to start discussing showing his work. And upon getting to a point where we were ready to give it a formal exhibition and bring it to the market, we acquired the collection in its entirety, and now we're presenting it to the public for the first time.
Fantastic.
Thank you everyone for watching. As always, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps us with the channel. And all of the links and comments below will give you Doug's contact details. If you want to start looking at art, if you need some professional advice, please get in contact directly with Doug with the contact details below. Thank you for watching.